maybe you begin by saying who you are. Introduce yourself.
I'm Marty Strong. I'm a coach at Bayfit. Love doing CrossFit.
In 2020, you messaged Bailey. Maybe Marty will read the message.
Yeah. Oh, geez Louise. So I slid in the DMs. I said, hey bro, just got a few questions. Me and two of my mates were keen to do a session with you, and we were wondering if you would do a semi-private session with 3 to 5 people potentially. And if so, how much would that cost? Yeah, like I remember I followed Bailey, I don't know exactly when, but I think from the get-go he was really on top of social media, and just from what I could see, he was, all in on the CrossFit. He had some crazy abs. He was doing stuff that I couldn't do, and it kind of looked like he was, I guess, maybe even one of the local heroes in the CrossFit community, even though he was really new to it. And I sort of was seeing that, maybe we were a similar age and a similar stage in CrossFit, and I guess I was kind of hoping that we would maybe be able to become friends, which is it is actually quite funny, because I remember like seeing Bailey for the first time and being like, that's the kind of person I would like to be friends with. And I guess, yeah, it's crazy now that we are very good friends to look back at, those first few thoughts and be like, wow, like, that's real now.
Yeah.
Yeah, our first training session.
And what did you do? Can you remember?
We did a mayhem. I think it was like 21:59, deadlifts at 140 kilos, bench press at like 80, rest 1-to-1, it was 21:59.
Yeah.
At lighter weights, deadlifts at 100, bench press at 60.
Yeah. I remember even like I scaled it, and it was like you absolutely smashed it, and I think I went after you. And I was so rattled afterwards. I remember sitting on Maddie's parents' driveway, just trying not to throw up. And I was like, low-key a bit embarrassed. I was like, holy shit, I just got chewed up and spat out. That guy's never going to want to speak to me ever again.
I remember it so clearly. I was like, I don't know, it was like you kind of one of the first people who like reached out to train with me. And so, I don't know, I guess I just was following the program, but it was a gnarly workout for someone to come into the first session. And I was like, oh fuck, did I kill this guy?
Yeah.
And it maybe did scare you off a little bit early on. So we just like didn't get the chance to kind of like, we just didn't train after that for a little while.
No, I think like, it was a few factors. Like I saw like you were on a different level to me, and I think like back then in my young CrossFit days, I'm still super guilty of it, but I would always go out too hot, always. Still do sometimes, but yeah, I think I just went out so hot in that workout, sort of trying to keep up with you, and then I passed away. So I'd sort of just come out of being a PT. My mum had just opened up City Cave. I was really on a journey of self-discovery as well. I was reading a lot of books, and I was really trying to find mentors. Like I was talking a lot to Buzz from Proform. Like a lot of those Proform boys, I was sort of like trying to hang out with them a little bit and be like, what books do you read? Like, what do you do in your spare time? So I was really like gravitating towards, I guess, positive male influences. And I think like, Bailey kind of stood out as one of those people in the community that I wanted to hang out with more. I was training at CrossFit, and I'd only really just kind of started CrossFit. I came from a background of bodybuilding, and I realized that bodybuilding was kind of, it was negatively impacting my mental health. It was kind of like I'd almost have a God complex for 15 minutes when I had a pump, and then I'd hate myself for the other, basically 24 hours that I didn't. And that just wasn't really healthy. So I sort of turned to CrossFit, because I saw those documentaries, that a lot of people saw. And I definitely wanted to, get to that kind of level or compete at the CrossFit Games. It's that sort of like young person's dream. And I still had that desire to be in health and fitness without, unhealthily impacting my mental health. So that's, I guess, who I was. I was doing a lot of reading, a lot of self-discovery. I was doing, meditation and starting to even get into yoga and stuff like that. And I was just trying to become my best self. I was never a party kind of person, and I was always very, very against drugs, and always very like pro being your best self and health and fitness and all that sort of stuff. But I guess something that I always looked forward to, even, you know, as a 17, 18-year-old, was that season of everyone's 21st birthdays. And I was keen to, you know, I guess party a little bit then. But then we got locked down just before 21st season started for all my friends. So none of my friends really had a 21st at all. And I guess we were all kind of like, we're almost putting our 21st on lay-by. Like next year we'll have a big 21st as our 22nd. And then, you know, we kind of got let out of lockdown for just a brief moment almost, and then bang, we go back into lockdown. So then, you know, our dream of having a big 22nd was also taken away. And for me, I really felt like I was robbed of my youth. And I didn't get the opportunity to go out and have fun as a 21-year-old, and that sort of just like felt like a bottled up feeling that I wanted to let out as soon as we got let out of lockdown. So that's exactly what I did. It was, it would have been New Year's Eve of 2021. I went out for the first time with a group of my friends that I knew, you know, liked to party. And I guess I said yes to a lot of things that I'd never said yes to, and that sort of led me down the rabbit hole of then just wanting to, my New Year's resolution was basically to say yes more, and to live more and experience my youth for everything that it could be. So yeah, that's, I guess, you know, set the tone for the next year. I think I was training at even 180 at that point, and I was hanging out with like Will Barker and Alahan, and me and Will wanted to do the Open, but 180 at the time wasn't doing the Open because, you know, they're a strength and conditioning gym, they're not necessarily a CrossFit gym, so no one there was really doing the Open. So I think I was talking to you and you said just come here and give it a go, and so I think that was the first time I ever actually came to this gym. But I loved it. And then that sort of set the tone as well, because I think then me and Will signed up for Benton, and then we were training here for the preparation for Benton.
Yeah, the podium, I think you guys came third at Benton, but it was in the scale division.
Yeah, it was in the scale division. That's not going to twist it, it was intermediate. My Instagram name was Don't Stop the Party Marty, and I was very much 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I feel like a lot of the time I was coming here sort of on the back end of the week, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, and I was probably going out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then just recovering on a Monday and Tuesday kind of thing. So it was like I was almost like 3 days all in on CrossFit, 3 days all in on the bender. It was almost a weekly fight with myself kind of thing, where a big part of me knew that I loved this community, I loved coming to the gym, I loved getting better, and I was actually starting to see some actually like really good progress. Like throughout that whole period, even when I was partying, one of my biggest goals was to snatch 100 kilos, and I felt like, you know, even still with the setbacks of going out so much, I was still putting in that, you know, weekly work to get there and getting a little bit better at the snatch every week. But yeah, I just couldn't help myself, particularly with like the people I was hanging around with. Like, absolutely no offense to them, I actually still love a lot of them, but like that's just what they were doing. They were going out every weekend. I'd get a message on a Monday or a Tuesday, what are we doing this weekend? This DJ's playing here, let's do this, yada yada yada. And I felt like I couldn't say no. Like I said, that my New Year's resolution was to say yes more, and I sort of just always was doing that. And I felt like going out, you know, it was always this like false sense of like community and acceptance and like, you know, outrageous fun, and I'd come out of the weekend with stories that I could tell my friends, and I thought that's kind of what I wanted. But at the end of the day, on Monday and Tuesday, particularly the Tuesdays when I knew like we had compete crew at night, but I just absolutely felt like shit mentally and physically, and I honestly couldn't get myself here. Those were the times when I would send Bailey a message and be like, man, like, you know, you are a positive role model, you are you know, my friend, and you have a great control over your life, and realistically I feel way more like I want to be living the life that you're living rather than the life that I'm, you know, living right now with all of my friends here. And so I would cry for help on a weekly basis, but find myself going back out every weekend.
And then November, December, we don't see you. for those months.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, okay, that's fine, like, no idea. And then do you have that message from him?
Yeah. Basically being like, I'm kind of partying and I feel a sense of guilt, but I can't get myself to the gym, or I feel like I don't want to be at the gym.
We were on holidays and you messaged Bailey like, hey, I need to call you, and we were like, oh fuck, what's happened? Something's wrong. And
He said, my guy, got to have a chat to you, hey, are you in tomorrow? And I said, sorry bro, I'm away in Victoria until the weekend, what's up, everything okay?
Yeah, basically. Anyway, like, when I heard that, I was like, fuck, November and December is already looking huge for me. So I was like, I understand the reasoning behind that, so I'm just going to remove myself for the time being so that I'm not, like, contributing to that negativity. So I was like, I'm going to take November and December off, and I'll come back in January. But anyway, I was talking to, obviously, like, the crew last night, like the real crew, like Francesco and Marty, and they basically told me that, like, what I heard was completely incorrect. And now I just feel like a fucking clown, because I probably could have still fucking been coming and throwing down the gym. I've missed it, heavy duty. Anyway, regardless, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. Like, as long as you're keen to have me back, I'm fucking keen to send it through 2023. Come back in January, probably even like come back tomorrow for a midweek. But yeah, I just feel like a fucking clown because obviously like I had my information wrong and I just, removed myself for no reason.
How about that, man? That almost gets me emotional.
I said, I love my guy, I respect your decision to remove yourself, although unnecessary. If you thought it was going to be an issue rather than wait for it to be an issue, but you know you're my boy and will never have issues. Like I said, the only issue I ever have is when other people think they're above others and make them feel small, and you're only ever uplifting and respectful and never too cool to have a proper crack, and that is what we're all about. Our values are aligned, lad. Can't wait to get you back in tip-top shape and hit the opening quarters together this year. Next week we get back to work.
And so, I feel like that was like a turning point, but not the complete pivotal point. But from there, things definitely shifted, and I feel like I would describe it as you were navigating like the start of a transformation while still in and out of both. How would you describe that era?
It was pretty crazy. I remember November, December was just like, I wasn't training at all, like did not even touch a weight, I don't think, and I was just like on the bender so hard. Every weekend it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just going hard at it. Fun fact, I remember I spent $1,200 on Ubers in November alone. Ridiculous, right? Like actually insane. So I was very, very deep in it, and coming out of that I was like starting to get a little bit over it, and I was very much like I missed the gym. But I remember like it was one night out, I saw I think Matty Ferg and Franco, and they were like, where you been, bro? What's going on? And I had the chat with them, and they were like, you're so wrong. So but nonetheless, I remember like the first session coming back was like one of the hardest sessions of my life. It was thrusters and shuttle runs, and I remember like it was the standard crew. It was like
and everyone can remember this so vividly. I tried so hard to find videos, but I can't find it.
Nah, I don't think anyone would have videoed it. But it was like me, Riv, and I remember like I could not do the thrusters. I did a few of the thrusters and just gassed out completely. It would have been like 40, 50 kilos. Couldn't do it anymore. And so the rest of the workout was like shuttle runs. So I just did shuttle runs the whole time. It was like an 18-minute cap, I think. And I just did like 18 minutes of shuttle runs, and I was like shuffling my feet on the ground. And I was so defeated. I remember in that moment thinking, I feel like every CrossFitter has those kind of moments sometimes where they have a workout that makes them think, I'm just not cut out for CrossFit. That was one of those moments where I thought, shit, I've absolutely cooked myself. I've put myself so far back, there's no way I'll ever make it back from this, and I, contemplated just being like, well, maybe I made the right decision to, remove myself from this gym and go party, and maybe I should just continue to do that and never come back here. But I'm glad I didn't make that decision. I kept showing up, And yeah, wasn't fit, and I didn't look fit either. I remember I looked like a piece of shit, dude. I looked like shit.
2023. So then we do the open again, navigating this journey. You actually didn't make quarterfinals that year.
No.
Didn't make quarters, but still like back on like the upwards trajectory. And then we go, Bailey makes Torian, and we go to Torian. And this is like, I could be wrong, but my thought was that Torian 2023 was the last time you did drugs.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and like, that's again another like point in the journey.
Yeah, holy moly. Yeah, it was so Torian goes till Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was the Saturday night of Torian, and like we went out, and like my one mission that night was like to find drugs in Brisbane. I didn't have any with me, right? Like we flew up, and I was just like being an absolute pest, like going around like, who's got a bag, who's got a bag? Anyway, we ended up finding some and like paid way too much for it, and like it was shocking stuff, it was terrible, and that was it. And I was just like, holy fuck. And I remember Jesse actually because I went to go find the same guy to get a second one, and Jesse grabbed me and he's like, bro, what are you doing? Don't do that. And I was like, you're right, Jess, like it's good for me. And then I remember sitting in the stands the next day just so off myself, watching Bailey absolutely kill it and just being like, fuck, I'm so sick of being this piece of shit guy. I want to be one of these people that are down there. And back then I didn't really even think that was possible. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to make Torian next year or like anything like that. I was just like, I want to be fit and healthy, and I know that's more aligned with who I am than being like that just loser that's trying to find a bag at 3 a.m. in Brisbane. And it was actually like we got back from Torian, and I was still super off myself, and like just before that, Frank Sorbello had kind of like come into my life a little bit more and started training with me in the mornings and stuff like that. So I was starting to train a little bit more, and he asked me the question. We were out the back of my house. He said, if you could remove one thing from your life right now, what would it be? And I remember being so hesitant to say it because in my head I loved it so much, but I was like, I need to stop doing. And he was like, okay, cool, well, what's the punishment for you? And we decided on Karen, which is a CrossFit Hero award, which is 150 wall balls for time. And at the time I hated wall balls. I know you've got a video of me doing wall balls and it sucks. Hated wall balls. And yeah, I never did it again, never touched it. And it was like, it's funny because all I needed was that little push and that little bit of accountability from an accountability partner, and I never touched it again.
Like, we're making jokes like, we've got the day for your birthday party this weekend, are you doing Karen on Monday?
Yeah.
Everyone was kind of like, he's talking the talk, but like, I don't think people are ready for you to fully back it up just yet.
Yeah.
No. It's like, you kind of stack bricks, right? We always say here, brick by brick, and I was sort of moving brick by brick, and I was moving from, that person that, was running 18 minutes of shuttle runs to someone who was kind of starting to hold their own in fitness. And I guess, winning the Bayfit comp was kind of a big moment, and then after that, to have Bailey ask me to do a comp with him was like one of the most insane things for me. I was like, hold on a second, like Bailey, who's like this ridiculously fit person that I look up to so much, is asking me to do a comp with him, even though it was a local comp more or less. It was just the craziest thing. And then I think I had something to work towards as well. I knew that Tribe was coming up, and I didn't want to let Bailey down, so I was doubling down on my training. Back then I was doing the 98 program, and I was sort of just like not missing a single day. I was really consistent. I wasn't misbehaving at all then. I think I sort of told myself I'm not even going to drink until after the Tribe comp. And so I went probably 2 months without alcohol or something like that. And then, we won the Tribe comp. It was like an insane moment. And I think that was really like starting to be the point in time when I was like being opened up to the fact that like maybe I could actually be kind of good at this. And I guess I was working for City Cave, and I was like spending a lot of time traveling, so I couldn't be as consistent as I wanted to be, and I was starting to, even if I was going to the airport early, like I'd sometimes wake up at 3 a.m. and train before I went and got on the plane kind of thing, and I was just like, I wish I didn't have to travel so much. So I ended up basically getting to the point where, I wanted to quit my job. I hadn't done it yet, but I sort of had a concept for a business, and I started working on that all around human optimization. And a big part of that for me is like, I remember thinking, I've got this idea for a business that's about human optimization. I want to make it work, and I want to basically be the face of it, but right now I know that I'm not quite there. So that was also motivation for me to double down on actually being that person and stepping into that identity of, being fitness, being health, being human optimization.
Yeah, and I guess that's when you started thinking of this personal rebrand of going away from Don't Stop the Party, Marty Strong.
Yeah.
Did you get any pushback when you were shifting into this thing? Was it difficult, or did you find it easy?
To change the handle for a while.
I was.
I remember even when you won, at the baking internal comp, remember there was a video of you doing a lift and you posted it in a story, and we were like, it's on your fucking feed.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I wasn't, I didn't want to post anything on Instagram. I was super worried about what people would think of me. I think my personality was really nonchalant. I was a party boy. I was the kind of person that would just do anything, just crazy, stupid shit, to kind of just be funny. But then I was starting to move into Marty Strong rather than Don't Stop the Party Marty, and I remember putting it up on my Instagram story, a poll, well before I changed it, saying should I change my Instagram handle, and a lot of people said no, and so I just never did it. But I guess as my identity shifted, I started to get more confident with posting things on Instagram, and I was realizing that okay, no, my identity actually is kind of changing. I am becoming someone who's health and fitness, so I'm not worried about showing that. Then I changed my Instagram handle.
Only this year you changed that Instagram handle, and you almost that to me was the full commitment, which is something so simple, but the full commitment to actually I'm going all in on Marty Strong, the health and fitness guy.
Yeah.
I'm no longer Don't Stop the Party, which is something so silly that a handle can represent so much, but that was not that you were half in, half out, but it was just a gradual, now this is the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about some of the bricks of 2024. Personal rebrand to Marty Strong, leaves your travel heavy job. 2024 open performance is really strong. Quarterfinals performance is really strong, to the point that I think this is when we started to think he's actually really fit. This guy could do it.
Yeah.
And you're almost meeting daily workouts, which has never really happened at the gym before.
But you coming over.
In the open? Oh no, I was 180. I was 180 in the open.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And then quarterfinals, and this is how I know you just you were becoming all in, but obviously you had your personal item going on at quarterfinals time. I remember you crammed all the workouts in 2 days.
Yeah.
Because then you went to Melbourne or something.
Gold Coast.
Yeah. And you drove down. And I remember that you hit, you had really good scores, and then you just hit the last one, the burpee wobble one, just I just got to do it. And it was kind of that was a bit of a half-assed effort.
Yeah.
Could have given you you could have actually had a really good score.
Yeah,
but
100%.
it wasn't I'm training so hard for the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Because it just I'll do it to do it, but it wasn't you were strategizing optimizing your whole life around it for that moment.
But I think it was enough to see the potential within it.
Yeah. What did you come in quarterfinals?
So when I calculated my scores, I was 79th. But with all the movements, I think I moved down to 68th or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was based off my calculations.
Yeah.
But why did you have to calculate it?
Because I didn't put my scores in.
Win Benton with Franco, you do rec games indie, obviously we go to Torian, watch Bailey again, it's all of these things are stacking. I remember in the prep for Torian, you were beating Bailey in the workouts. This guy can just get there, he can excel, and these are all the conversations that we're having. Become not just a community member, but a community leader, do 75 harder, then we do down under qualifiers, and then we make down under team.
Yeah, so this year a lot changed. Not only my Instagram handle, my diet. I was vegan for 5 years prior, and January I made that change and started eating, a lot more meat. A big reason why I just felt like when I was vegan, I was sort of training with both arms tied behind my back. And so when I could start to really prioritize my nutrition, I started to see a lot better performance, and I think that definitely contributed to my open and quarterfinals scores. Another thing, January I went through a breakup, and it was a very short-lived relationship, but for me it was the first kind of big breakup I'd been through, and in that moment it was sort of I felt hurt and I felt insignificant, and my sort of response to that was I'm going to go even harder in the gym, and I'm going to channel this negative energy into a positive output, and that was probably around quarterfinals time. So I think and I started to, that was a big reason why I flew, ducked off to the Gold Coast straight after quarterfinals, because I just felt I needed to get away, with my mum. But nonetheless, I feel that kind of unlocked a bit of dog, and then I did 75 harder, and that was I started training twice a day. I was doing semen retention. I was eating only whole foods for the first time, and I feel my performance just started to get better and better and better. And it was in that sort of time when Bailey and Mads were preparing for touring, and we were training together, and it was kind of the first times when I was kind of either keeping up with Bailey, or there was a couple of workouts where I did beat Bailey, and I felt such a strong level of imposter syndrome. I was what the fuck is going on? To me it wasn't I beat Bailey in that workout. It was Bailey fucked something up there or something like that. But I remember Bailey started to send me these messages after certain workouts, or sometimes out of the blue, where it was really showing a lot of faith in me as an athlete, and it just meant the absolute world to me at the time, and it changed a lot in my kind of mindset. I even remember one time Ryan Mulvaney, who's another Taurian athlete, came down. It was me, Ryan, Bailey and Franco, we all did a workout, and I won that workout, and Bailey sent me a message after, and he's they're the times when you need to take confidence from it, when you're basically running with the big dogs. And those kind of moments sort of stacked up to make me think okay, no, I can do this. And I feel that was a big defining moment. And then did rec games, Indy. I think I came 5th. So it was that was my first individual comp, and the 5th is pretty good when there's a lot of good competition. And then the next sort of site that we set the next thing we set our sights to was Downunder championships, doing pairs, me and Bailey. And again, I was super blessed, and I felt privileged for Bailey to ask me to be his partner when he could have asked someone Max Lees or Luke de Jong. He could have asked anyone, but he asked me, so I felt super blessed. But at the same time, I felt a lot of pressure. So the Downunder qualifiers didn't necessarily go completely to plan. I feel I kind of choked a little bit, and I didn't perform to the best of my ability, basically because there were some things I was definitely weak at, but it was also a big mental game for me. I really felt that pressure of potentially letting Bailey down and being the reason why I didn't make it on the floor and that sort of thing. But nonetheless, we made it, and then when competed and had the absolute best time of my whole life. It was so much fun, and it really reinvigorated my love for the sport.
So just a few things. It's so awesome to sit there and just listen to the story in the order of events. But during that lead up to touring, Marty was my guy. He was my number one training partner. I wanted him there to push me in workouts, because I felt he could give me the biggest push to mimic what it would be at touring. And then he stuck it to me a few times, and instead of me being losing confidence, I just kind of tried to instill that confidence in him, hey, this isn't an accident. You don't just accidentally be the touring athlete once or twice or 3 times, you're good, kind of thing. And it took him a while to kind of believe that. And then initially,
this is a tough one, but like him and Franco were going to do the Downunder qualifiers, and I just didn't know based on what they did last year. They were in like 60th or 70th spot in that team division. I was like not sure if they were going to get the chance to compete. And I come off touring, so I was kind of more in like an off-season mindset. So I still did the individual qualifiers, but I knew that if Marty wanted to take that next step and he wants to compete on a big stage at an elite level, that like he kind of needs to get some experience there. So I like spoke to Franco about going with Leo in the RX division, and then I asked Marty if like he would want to do elite with myself. And it was like a tough one, like because him and Franco kind of had the plan, kind of changed the plan a little bit, but like I think it was definitely the right call because Franco and Leo had the best time. And then we got the chance for Marty to compete at an elite level, which was just like is experience that is just like really hard to come by. And then before we even got to compete, that qualifiers, the Downunder qualifiers, was tough for him, like he mentioned, because the pressure he felt, and like their elite qualifiers, like if you want to make it, you've got to be good across all events. And it was like, it was a tough time, and a lot of people get to that tough time, and then you hit a road, and you can either like push through it, or you can like quit and be like, it's too hard, it's too much pressure, I'm not cut out for it. And like it got to the point where like he said that like that was a strong consideration, that like, oh, I don't know if like I want to do this anymore, it's not kind of fun. And when you get to the elite level, it is so high stress that it is like, it's not always fun. But nevertheless, he did all the qualifiers, gave his best effort, and then we made it. And then from that point, he kind of like shifted his mindset to like not feeling the pressure to compete, but just more the opportunity and excitement to compete. And once he kind of flipped that switch, like it's crazy how that shift in your mindset allowed you to wholeheartedly enjoy the experience. So we qualified in 11th out of 20 teams. Then there was like 3 or 4 invitational teams, maybe more, who came from overseas, America, Europe. So we probably like our ranking was 15th going into it, and then we finished in 7th, but with zero expectation, just going in with the mindset to have fun. And I think like most people get to that qualified position, face the obstacle, and then I've got a quote that like, this is where most people stop. And like when most people stop, that's when like the elites or the greats, whatever it is, keep going. And then he chose to keep going then, and then now he's over that hump, which will be probably one of the biggest humps he'll go through, and he's on the other side, and now the rest is not smooth sailing, but he has that confidence of competing at an elite level, which he will have forever, and you can only have that through going through the hard times. So that's kind of like my little 2 cents on like a bit more detail on like he just didn't make the elite level, like he was on track but still hit a huge obstacle, which was like, what do I do now? And then he like pushed through that, which I think is a really key takeaway, because there's a lot of Marty's story, and the reason we want to tell it is because it's so relatable, because he just like overcomes obstacles when a lot of people, it's hard, and a lot of people don't. Like, you don't go against the grain, you just keep partying or keep doing what is socially acceptable because that's what you think is cool. But instead, he changed his whole identity into something that was like true to him. And then same, when he faces a hard challenge in quarterfinals or in the Downunder qualifiers, he's able to overcome that and push through and not quit, which I think is like, just a huge takeaway, which is why I want to tell this story.
Okay, so obviously, Downunder was one of the best experiences of my whole life, and it was just so crazy because, like I said at the start of this kind of interview, sort of 2021 or 2020 when I started getting into CrossFit, I got into it originally kind of because I saw those documentaries, and I feel like all the young kids that want to get into CrossFit, they watch the documentaries, they see the big names like Ricky Garrard and Jake Douglas and Khan Porter, James Newbury, and they just like froth it. And I sort of went into my first CrossFit session kind of being like, oh, I want to make the CrossFit Games. But like then you realise how difficult it is, and obviously it's been years since then, and so much life and so much experience. But like to be out on the floor sharing the floor with those people, looking around, like one of the most surreal moments was in that snatch event, event 7. It's the last event of the whole weekend, and you have a little bit of time to actually take it in, because there was 2 minutes in between each lift where you're forced to rest. And I'm standing there, and Julia Hannaford snatching 95 kilos behind me, which is an international, CrossFit moment now. I think, the video of it happening has like 300,000 views. That was happening right behind me. I couldn't have had any better seats in the house for it. Jake Douglas is over there, going for 140 kilos. Ricky Garrard's about to hit 135 kilos. And I look over in the corner and I see Matt Fraser looking directly at us. And I nudge Bailey and I'm like, Matt Fraser's watching us right now. And it was so crazy because, like I said, like in those documentaries, he was the leader. He's like the star of the show. And we never got the blessing of watching him compete when he was dominating, but he's now watched us compete. And it was just such an insane, surreal moment. But yeah, it felt really good, and it also felt really good to then start to basically genuinely form some friendships with some of these high-level athletes. Like Jake Douglas, one of the nicest people. He knew me by name. He'd come banter with me, and I remember before the snatch event, he called out. He's like, "Oi Marty, what way are we facing?" And I was like, "What is going on right now?" And also, yeah, Max Lee sent me a message the night before the last day of Downunder, just saying you look really natural out there, you belong here. So it's good, it's so awesome to get that kind of feedback from other real top level athletes. So, I definitely kind of feel at home with it, and I want to continue to, work towards that. I'd love to, my next step is making Torian, preferably team, I think, team would be a lot of fun. Doing duos at Down Under just showed that when you do it with other people, it is so much fun. You get to share the experience. But I'd still like to try and qualify on my own, or get as close to it as possible. So that's what we'll be working towards next. I think, yeah, just quickly, I can't thank these people enough, Bailey and Maddie. Genuinely, what they've built here at Bayfit is just so amazing. We got an email this morning from one of the parents of the people that, one of the clients here, just saying how happy they are. And I think that realistically, if you asked any of the parents of any people at Bayfit how they feel, they'd feel such a strong sense of community, and they're getting better constantly. And I love Byron Bay. My auntie lives up there. It's the kind of place that calls my name, and genuinely all the time I think I really want to move, I really want to move. But genuinely I could not move. The biggest reason that I can't move away is not, my family's here, or my friends are here. It's this gym, this place, this community is so beneficial for my growth right now that I would be stupid to go anywhere else that isn't right here. I absolutely love it here, and yeah, just the faith that Bailey has in me, the faith that Maddie has in me, it's something that some people are never blessed with anyone that puts that level of faith in them ever, and they might just be stuck in their ways of life forever because they are not blessed with having people like this around them that have faith in them and that openly say it to them. So I feel like I owe a lot of my success and growth to not only this place at Bayfit, but to Bailey and to Maddie. I could never thank them enough. So yeah.
Oh, that's so nice.
My fucking brother, man.
Wrap. That's a wrap. So good.
Man. That fires me the fuck up, man.
Come on. Okay. My last little message, all right, my last little thing is, why not you? Right? This is something that I was really thinking last year when I was making the transition, and I started to kind of prove to myself that I could make these changes. It's actually insane to look back at the thruster shuttle run workout and think genuinely how shit I was and how far I'd fallen from grace. I never thought I'd get to a position where I was even like as fit as I was in 2021 or 2022, let alone like running on the floor with, like literally chasing after Ricky Garrard in a workout, right? Like I kind of don't deserve that, because it was only a year and a bit ago that I was sitting in the stands of the Taurian Pro with some naughty things running through my blood, just thinking that I was a complete degenerate and loser, and right? Like, but here I am now, so why not you? If you're watching this, you can do anything you put your mind to. It's only a year away.